Normalizing the district column. And the first thing we want to do is we want to sort those records by that column. Now, if you click on the header on the far right where it says district, you will get an option to sort ascending or descending. Select sort ascending, and this will group all of the different values together. Everybody done that?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I want you to go to the File menu and choose Export Records. And you're going to call it Districts. Make it a tab file. And you click and just save it to somewhere you know where you can find it. In the export dialog box, you should be exporting just the district field, and you need to make sure that the group by checkbox above the list of fields on the right is checked. And the reason we do this is that by grouping it, it will only export each unique value. So instead of having X number of records, we'll have just a very few records, in other words, the unique values. So the grouping is very important. What we're going to do now is we're going to import it into a new table, into a table in FileMaker. Now, you can just import that data file, but I actually prefer to go into the database and create the file, the table that I want to import the data into. So go into Manage Database, create a new table called Districts, and just click Enter. And then once you've done that, go into the fields and add a field called Name. Go exit the database. And you've now got a new layout in your list of layouts called Districts. Go into that layout. I want you to add the field primary key to that layout. And then once you've done that, and that's done in layout mode, once you've done that, then I want you to go back into browse mode and go to the layout view menu and change it to view as table. And I'll explain why in a minute. With that table open and set in table view, I want you now to go into the File menu and choose Import Records and double click on the Districts tab file you just created. Now, you'll notice that on the right-hand side of you've got three columns. You've got the column on the far left, you've got two columns in the middle with a divider, which is where you import the data. So we want to change, right now it'll tell you you're going to import the data in the name, for the district name, into the primary key field. We need to click on where it says primary key and change that to name. So we're importing that data into name. Okay, and when you've done that, just press import. And now we've got the data. We don't actually need the primary key field on this layout. I've just put it there for illustrative purposes. I do it when I'm doing this just as a cross-check to make sure that all the primary keys have been assigned, because sometimes I've inadvertently unchecked auto enter options, and without doing that, it won't work. So with that done, we want to go back into Manage Database and go to our original table, which I think is called Work Orders. Mm-hmm. And you want to create a new field called District ID. And it's a text field. Now what this is this is the foreign key that we're going to use inside the main table to normalize the data. Once you've done that, I want you to go into the relationship graph, and I want you to connect the work orders table to the district table. You connect district to name. So we've exported the name, and we know that the name values that we've exported are the same as the values in the district table. What we are now going to do is we're going to push the primary key from the district into the district ID field in our work orders table. Get out of Manage Database, go to our work orders layout, which should be a table view, and press the modify button at the top right, and then press the plus button at the bottom of that screen and find the field district ID and add it, and then move that next to district. With that done, we want to go back into browse mode. So we're looking at the data, and right now the district ID field is completely empty. Click into any row, any field on any row, that field on any row. It doesn't matter which field, which row you click into. And if you're using a PC, you have my sympathy, but use Control equals. And if you're using a Mac, it's Command equals. As you might guess, I hate PCs. With the replace dialog box open, you want to replace with a calculated result. So click on that option, and it'll bring up a specified calculation dialog box. Now, on the top left of that screen, you will see the current table, which is work orders. So if you point your mouse at that and hold down, you'll see the connected table district. There's only one table connected right now, districts. So select district, and now double click on the field primary key to move that into the calculation window. And once you've done that, click replace. Now, once you've done that, you should all see a list of primary keys in the field. And if you look at the values of the district, you'll notice that the primary key is the same for wherever the district is the same, it's the same. So we've now almost, but not quite, we've almost normalized the data set. Now, go back into Manage Database, go into the relationship graph, and double click on the connector between districts and work orders. You want to connect primary key in the districts field table to the district ID field in the work orders table. So you're connecting primary key and districts to the work district ID. Once you've done that, save that relationship.
Do you want us to delete the existing relationship?
I want you to change that relationship so the one to districts now uses the primary key from districts to the district ID in the work orders table. Now just exit the database. So you click on the modify button, press the plus sign, and this time instead of adding a field from the current table, we're going to select the related table, which is districts. And I want you to double click on the name field. And once you've done that, drag that name field up to the top of the screen so it's next to the field district on the worksheet. And if everybody's done that, you will notice that the related field you've just added is exactly the same as the value in the district field. So now what we do is we've got a couple of more things to do. First of all, we're going to go back into Manage Database, and I want you to click on the field district in the work orders table and delete it. Now, before anybody has a heart attack, why are we deleting this field that we needed? It came in with our data.
We have a related link to the district table through a primary key.
Yes, so the district field now is no longer needed in that table because we've got a primary key for the foreign key for the district ID, so we can get rid of it. And so now if you exit the database and go back to the layout, you've probably got a column called field missing, and you go into modify the table and uncheck that field so it disappears. The last thing we have to do, actually, we want to go into layout mode, and we want to make sure that we've got the district ID field on the layout. Now, you may have to add it because when you're adding fields to a table view, they don't actually add them to the layout. And it's one of the most annoying things that FileMaker has ever done. So if you haven't got a field district ID on the layout view, add it, and then click on it and go over to the inspector to the fourth tab and make it a pop-up menu. And we're going to create a new pop-up menu called districts. And the districts is going to have, we're going to use the values from the table districts. And on the left-hand side, we're going to select the field primary key. And on the right-hand side, and we're going to check use other values on the right-hand side. And then we're going to select name. And then we're going to select show values only from second field. Now, the reason for this is that the user never, ever needs to see the primary key. They just simply don't. But we need to be able to grab the value of it in order to make the proper connections. So once you've done that, you've now got a pop-up menu that when you click into it, the district ID, it will show you all the districts. It will also, but when you select something, it'll store the primary key. So you don't see the primary key. Now, just one thing, we're on the right-hand side on the inspector, the control style is pop-up menu, and you need to make sure that override data formatting with value list is checked. Now, if you don't do that, the field will display the primary key. So the user will see the primary key. They will see the value that they're selecting when they select it, but after that, they'll just see the primary key. So we just want to see the value. We've now completed the normalization process.